The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade.
That's
The Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle.
Oh, my heart had been leaking since the day that I first laid eyes upon you. I knew you were the one.
Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is episode 43, and our guest is Shawn James. Shawn is a singer and songwriter originally from Chicago, whose most recent record, The Dark and the Light, was released earlier this year. The record is beautiful and complicated, and so is the artist. We caught up with Shawn ahead of his show at Soundbar in Orlando, Florida earlier this year. Shawn was open and honest from the jump, and I am just so grateful for this opportunity. The song you're hearing is Orpheus from Shawn's new record, The Dark and the Light, which you can pick up at ShawnJamesMusic.com. Everyone, it is my distinct honor to present my conversation with Shawn James.
Through the woods, no care in mind, and you were so blind. Snake bit and you were gone. Oh, but I will follow you down, even through the gates of hell. I will save your soul. I'm in.
Awesome.
Fucking do it.
Awesome. Well, let's get into The Dark and the Light then, which
All
is a
right,
beautiful
brother.
record, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Great
that.
job. Thank you so much for putting that out in the world. And it's different from your other ones.
Yeah.
And can you speak a little bit about like what it was like? Because that one's the first one, as I understand, that you've really done with somebody else producing, right?
First one I've ever worked with anybody else producing, yeah.
So could you talk about like what that felt like? I mean, that's
Yeah.
letting go a lot, right?
Yes and no. No, because, okay, so in the past, I had recorded on my own or either rented a studio and pretty much, tracked everything live myself or like worked with one other person, but everything I produced, everything I wrote, everything I planned. And, for so long I had done that. And then eventually I passed the buck on engineering because over-examining the music kind of made me, I'd love a mix one day, the next day completely erase it and come back again. And I was like, well, I need to take my head's mainly in the creative game and the creation of it. But when it comes to mixing, I like to just pass that off. So, man, eventually I wanted to take the next step because I feel like at that point it felt like I had done a lot independently and that I was kind of hitting a wall with, new techniques or trying something new. I had kind of gone through everything that I could have done on my own and wanted to expand. And I'm really picky about who I work with and stuff. And so the producer thing, I had been offered before to do it, and I was like, hell no, because it just felt like you said, giving up a lot. So eventually, my publisher at the time was encouraging me to go for the new record, and he said, have you ever thought about working with somebody? And I told him all that stuff, and he was like, well, I might have someone that I can connect you with that I think you'd get along with well because of your approach. And he introduced me to Jimmy Messer, and I had a meeting with him in this small half-hour frame because he was recording this other band, and it was their break, and he was like, all right, come in and we'll chat real quick and kind of fill each other out. I was fucking 15 minutes late because of LA traffic. It was in LA, and I had no idea. It was my first time. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll just punch in GPS and just get there. No, it was crazy traffic. So I get there 15 minutes late, and I had my wife come with me, and I was like, just sit in the background. I was super suspicious because, I don't trust anybody that well.
Yeah.
I was like, just sit back because you know me and just listen. And then at the end, tell me your opinion. And within 15 minutes, he had me eating out the palm of his hand with everything he was saying. It was right down the line of what I wanted. He didn't want to change anything about what I was doing because it was working.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do was elevate it
Yeah.
and possibly give me some perspective on how to look at it to grow it more without changing the core and the honesty and the genuineness of what the music was.
Right.
Which is really the kind of producer that I wanted.
Yeah.
Some producers and some people need producers that will push them so hard and make them change, maybe because they're not good enough or whatever. But what I was doing was working, and it was successful. It's just that I wanted to take it to that next level.
Right.
So, I started working with him, and I got out of that meeting, and I was like, that's what I want to do the record with. My wife was like, I completely agree. Like, she didn't pick up anything weird, and she thought he said everything that I wanted him to say from the beginning, just right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we jumped in, and I think working with him, I brought all the songs, just acoustic guitar and a voice, or a piano and a voice, to him and showed him. And, the only things that I would say structurally he changed were a few little chord changes here or there, and then every now and then, or suggestions he made. That was the other thing, is he wasn't like hardcore about, it's got to be this way. That's what I loved about him. He was very gentle with his suggestions, if you would.
Yeah, sure.
So I got him, we went in, and the structuring, every now and then he'd be like, I think this bridge should go at the beginning actually, or this verse should go at the end. Or other than that, his main things that he helped with was raising the level of production and the surrounding instruments and the instrumentation. Other than that, it was pretty much taking what I wrote and just raising the level of production and getting new layers that I'd never used before too, which was interesting and fun to mess with.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah.
How did you, like, with the trust thing, like, is that in your life in general, or is that really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say in general with everything, but especially when it comes to things I really, really care about, the music being one of them. I do have a problem trusting bringing in a stranger that is going to be a big part of, it's someone that I don't know being a big part of what we're making that I've been working on for years. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about trust, because I didn't want to fall for somebody, who is just talking a big game and then not really delivering or trying to change it without telling me and all this stuff. But he came off as very genuine and honest, so that's why I was cool with it.
So how did you suss that out? Like, when you're meeting somebody and you don't trust them at first, like, what?
I ask open-ended questions and just see what their response is without, because a lot of people, and I used to have the tendency of asking questions and also, while asking the question, giving them the answer that you would want to hear. So I would ask the general open-ended question and then just see what he had to say and feel him out from there. Not give too much of my own stuff, because he's heard the stuff I made. Yeah, he knows about me. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to feel him out. So I want to hear what he has to say, because I've heard his work, but I'd never heard what he had to say or what he talked about or what his passions are or emotions or what his process is and all that. So yeah, it was asking open-ended questions and just completely seeing if he was open and letting him talk, and really listening and see what he had to say, and if it matched what I wanted without telling him what I wanted. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's funny how it's so interesting that when you let people go, it's sort of like when you're young and you're trying to date. And you're like, you eventually learn the lesson to shut the fuck up, because you're gonna talk your way out of it.
Yeah. You're not wrong, man. You're not.
You know
wrong.
what I mean?
I do.
I've talked myself out of so many great situations because I wouldn't shut the fuck up.
That's life, dude. That's life. You gotta live and learn it.
Well, you're talking about process with making this most recent record, how you kind of brought to him like the vocals, the lyrics,
the bare bones,
bones.
The foundation of what the songs were when I wrote them. Yeah.
Is that how you're writing when you sit down to write? Is it bare bones when you're writing?
Yes.
Okay.
I typically do not write with anybody else. I like to be in solitude and just be able to flesh out ideas without my thoughts bombarding me with who's listening. And having this external, other people having their influence. Because I like to, and not that I won't eventually, but at the core and the foundation, I like to be alone and flesh out my thoughts and feelings or stories or whatever I'm trying to do with the music. Because I feel like it's more honest that way. I'm not thinking about what someone else may think or what someone else might be listening to and how it may affect me, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's typically how I write, is alone and solitude. And then eventually when I have the bare bones, I'll start bringing other musicians in and show them or get their thoughts and ideas on how to add to it and stuff. But at the core, I like to make the foundation myself.
Bringing in people you trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, man.
Well, is there a physical space that you prefer to write in, or is there a physical space you just write in? What does that
No,
look like?
it's been all over the place, man. My first record I wrote, some in a basement, some in a bedroom,
Yeah.
all over the place. The main key ingredient is that I have time alone with my thoughts, a pen and pad, and some way to record, on my phone, typically the guitar, piano, and my voice, just a quick rough draft. I don't really use a bunch of studio equipment when I'm doing rough drafts. That's later when we get to the, fleshing it out more and stuff.
Yeah. So paper plus the recording. So you're writing down lyrics?
Yeah, I'm writing lyric ideas or like phrases.
Yeah.
Or an idea. Like my pads in the very beginning look like a jumbled mess. It'll be like a note there, or a line here, and then a question mark on this word. Underneath it, another word that could go there, or another different rhyme, and then another rhyme might inspire a different line. Then I cross out the first one. Also, a huge thing that I don't have a problem with admitting is having a dictionary, thesaurus, and a rhyme dictionary. A rhyme dictionary is huge.
Really?
Huge. But it has to be, mine is coupled with the thesaurus and dictionary, and it's an app, the rhyme dictionary, though. It's an app. So I'll get ideas, and then sometimes I'll punch in the last word or the middle word or the first word, and just see what words come up that are interesting, that may inspire another line that I didn't think of, that relate to that first line I wrote. Wow. That I flesh out the ideas before I put it down. Like normally it starts with one thought or a phrase or a word or a story idea or a character I developed, and then it expands from there. I don't write the music first or the lyrics first. I have in the past, but what I find is that if I write the music first and I'm trying to squeeze the lyrics into the box of the music, and if I write the lyrics first and I'm trying to squeeze the music into the box of the lyrics that I've written, the best that I get, the best work I do, I think, is when it's simultaneous, where I may have a couple chords that I like, and then or like a little 10-second chord change and riff or something, and then just repeating that and vibing off it, coming up with melodies, and then thinking, oh, boom, 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 there's a line right there, and then go to the next chord or go to the next line. Like when they're simultaneous, I find that they influence each other and they aren't boxed in as if I wrote the music by itself. Does that make any sense?
It makes a ton of sense, but it's not necessarily how most people write.
No,
I don't think.
I don't think so either. A lot of people will write this beautiful poetry, and then I find that they lose the flow of it, or they don't lose the flow of it, but it doesn't flow with the music as well as it would if it were written at the same time as the music and both were created together.
I'm not sure everybody can do that though, Shawn.
I don't know.
I'm not sure that's fair.
I don't know.
I think that might be some sort of either discipline that you've developed or gift that you have.
I can't explain. I can't explain how or what. It's just typically how I feel like I get into the flow state of when it feels right, when it feels like, oh, that's it. Like that's normally how it goes. Or when it's just necessary and I don't think about it and the song just comes out and I can't write fast enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That happens every now and then.
That's the good bits right there.
That's rare. That's like out of 60, 70 songs I've released, I'd say that's happened with 5. You know what I mean? Like those are normally out of necessity or stress or needing to vent or something like that, where it comes out like that for me.
Is there a particular one you can think of off the top of your
Flow.
head? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Flow. Yeah. It was from Shadows, the first record, and I was living outside of Nashville at the time, and I was going through this kind of little mental struggle or career life path choice where I had stability and a career option on one end, but something that I quickly realized while doing it, although I was good at it, it wasn't what I wanted, but it was a viable option to grow and be stable. And then the passion, which was the music, which was completely, at that point then, a long shot, a pipe dream, a chance in a million to actually make it work.
Yeah.
But it's what I was passionate about and what I loved. Okay. So it was a huge struggle for me. I was, going through a lot of thoughts in my head about which choice to make, blah, blah, blah. And because of that tension, I needed a release. And so this one day, I was like, I'm just going to go out to this lake, river. It's like a lake fed by a river. It was close to my house. I walked out to it with a guitar. And I remember just being kind of like getting that release and that calm from nature and being by the water and just hearing it. And I started on this little riff came to me, this doom, boom, boom, doom, doom, doom. And I just kept playing that over and over and over. And then, boom, the first lyric came to me. I woke up to find the world was round one day, or the earth was round one day, and all around the world things began to change. Never had I ever seen the sun rise that way above the day and greet the dawn, referring to my whole life I was thinking this was what I wanted, everything was going down, and then one day I woke up and I was like, holy shit, the world and what I thought was the way it was is nothing like I thought it was.
Wow.
And then it just, boom, 15 minutes, the song was done, the whole thing. It was simple. It's not a complex song. It's 2 parts. It's one chord structure change, one chord structure, and then switching to another little chord structure and back and forth. That's the whole song.
That's it, yeah.
And then the lyrics were pretty simple, but it just came out because of that stress that I was having, and it just related in the moment. However, it was like the perfect storm, and so it just came out in 15 minutes and was done.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Did that help at all with the decision, or how did you make the decision facing that?
I think I already knew what the decision was. I knew I wasn't happy with the stable career thing. And I knew that I wasn't going to be happy, even though I could have been satisfied with money and stability and all this. It wasn't going to satisfy me. Yeah. So I think I knew what the decision was, but I think I was coming to terms with accepting it and embracing the danger and uncertainty of following something that I didn't know would work out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a huge part of it, how it all happened and why that song came to be. Yeah. So when I went out there to that river, it was like I wanted peace of mind, just clear my head, but I knew what the decision was. And then the song just helped me solidify it and let go and just flow like the river. And that's where those lines came from. It was directly impacted by what I was going through, and then being in that moment with the river and seeking solace in that place, and it inspired the lyrics. I was like, you just got to let that shit go, right, and just flow with it, and if it's meant to work out, it will, and if not, that's what I wanted to do anyways, and screw it. I'd be way less happy if I didn't take the chance and try it out than I would if I never tried. Right. You know? Yeah. That's basically it.
That's a great attitude about it. I think a lot of people that listen to the show, and me, wrestle with that question a lot, you know? And I think I'm at a good place right now in terms of my balance. Like, I do have a stable career, and then I do this.
And there's not one way. Yeah. You can do both.
Right.
And you can do whatever. I just personally, I'm a pretty much all or nothing type person most of the time. Like, if I'm going to do it, I just 100% dedicate and want to focus completely on that. So for me, it felt like I was compromising something by doing both. But that's just my personal personality, character, and who I am. Other people can be happy doing both or doing one. And I'm not saying my way is right for everyone. It's just how it worked for me. The facts of how I got to where I was.
But there's also like that makes a ton of sense. And but there's also this like this sense of like I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, the grass is greener kind of concept.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
You know?
You never, you don't know what it's like till you're actually in it. Yeah. And that's the career path I chose. I was like, that's what I want. It's related to music, and it's close to it, and I could make money doing it, and there's seemingly a viable option there, and I'll make it work. And then when you get in it, it's like, oh, I don't like this. You don't know until you get over there and experience it.
Right.
And for me, it was the recording industry. I went to school for recording engineering, and I thought that would be, because I was pressured by family and all this stuff, because I was younger to have an option to make money just in case. And so I chose that, and it ended up kind of sucking my soul a little bit when I got into it, because I was jealous of the people performing. I didn't want to be the one twisting the knobs and finding sound. That the sound wasn't my passion. Right. And real engineers, it is their passion. That's what they love. it took me having to go through it. I was good at it, but
Yeah.
it took me having to go through it and getting my foot in the door in the business to see that it wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
So I'd sacrificed all this time and money getting all the stuff I needed to do it. And then when I got in and I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why we do that, but I guess I do know why.
Well, because you really learning from a book and going to school and having the idea that you might like something, or even being passionate about something and interested in something, even if it's a hobby or whatever, doesn't mean that that's what you want to do 40 hours a week as your job. Some things need to remain a hobby.
Right.
Some things need to remain a passion. Some things need to be separate and be just a career and a money earner, versus some people it's both. Like, you can't know exactly what it's going to be.
But also we do those things for family too, like
Yeah, the pressure.
Well,
I think we
thing.
get pressured, like, what are you going to do? How are you going to live? How are you going to survive?
Right.
Yeah, I was under those same things that everybody's under growing up, and that's the way that's what I did in response to it. And no, I don't regret any of it, because I wouldn't have got to where I was without going through that stuff.
Sure.
If I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have had those thoughts and had that tension, and then been able to write songs about it, or maybe devoted my time, or known that that's not it and this is it for sure. Because you know what I mean?
100%.
Sometimes you have to go through the hard times and stuff like that to just make you realize. So I don't regret any of it.
Sure.
It wasn't a waste of time, because it got me to where I am now.
Yeah,
So.
it doesn't do you any good to regret.
No,
right? Like, that's
not really.
Worrying and regretting, neither one of those is particularly productive. What do you do when you're having any sort of mental struggle? And I don't know if it manifests in any sort of mental illness or challenges on that level with you, but like, even when you're just dealing with, I've got a struggle, what do you do to stay centered? What are the things you come back to?
That's a good question. I think it's situational, based on if you're speaking mental struggle. Mainly.
Yeah, mainly.
As I get older, I find that I already know what my feelings are, and whether I feel sad because of it, or angry because of it, or anxious because of it. And I know how I feel. A lot of times, having someone that I trust, that I can talk to and get a different perspective on things, can really help me flesh out how to either understand what I'm going through better, or know why. And understanding the why you're feeling that way and what made it happen is the first step to, in my opinion, either overcoming it or adjusting something and balancing something to make up for it and find a way to correct it. But a lot of times it's perspective, because for me, when I'm going through something and I'm upset, and this happens all the time, even on the road, with my boys and stuff, like, maybe someone's having a bad day. And I didn't know that. And they may say something that really got under my skin because I was having a bad day they didn't know about.
Right.
And then I take it as one thing, and it gets to be this big thing. And then when you back up and just realize, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't meant in a serious way. He was going through that, and so that's why he said that. And I took it so serious because I was thinking of this and had my own problems. So a lot of that is perspective. And understanding. And the way I cope with it, like, I get angry like anybody else, or I get sad, and I have my moments and vent and steam and let that physical thing happen. And I'm a pretty fiery person when it comes to doing that.
Oh, interesting.
So I get a little fiery and zesty, and then I back down. I'm like, calm down. I've learned, though, be fiery in your head without reacting physically or talking. Let it fire off and think all these things in your head and get upset or get whatever. But then back up before you react, and then think about now that you've calmed down a little bit, what do you really think, and what do you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd say it's just like anybody else. But as I get older, I'm learning how to let it simmer and let it sit. For a minute before you really dive into it, because a lot of times once that initial shock or anger or whatever it is, kind of, you give it a day, you sleep on it or something, you come back the next day and you're like, man, I'm really glad I didn't react in a certain way when I was feeling so much that way. You know what I mean?
I do. I used, I don't think anymore that I am that way. Like, growing up, I was incredibly fiery, like temperamental, and like,
I hear you.
Like blow
Absolutely.
my top kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it got me into a lot of trouble, and it damaged a lot of relationships.
Yeah, that's exactly what made me grow up from it. Is like, I realized that I wasn't, even if I was in the right.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in the right, it doesn't help to blow up or to argue or anything, you know. And again, maybe that person you're upset with, or that thing you're upset with, is going through something themselves that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And it took me damaging some relationships and kind of burning some bridges to wake up and realize, oh man, even though I wasn't wrong, I could have handled that situation better and been a little bit more gentle or understanding, or just taking my time a little bit more with it and not reacted so quick, like we talked about. So I just think it comes with time and experience and learning lessons and making mistakes, and now you know, and hopefully learn a better way to do it and not repeat it over and over.
Was there a moment where you realized that?
Not a specific moment.
Yeah.
It was just in general maturing, man. And even when those heavy things would happen, I think it took maybe a year or two after, looking back, to be like, oh, I played a bigger part in that than I realized. Even though, like I said, even though there might be the situation where you were right, sometimes it doesn't matter who's right or wrong.
And you undermine your own argument.
Yeah.
You know? You undermine your own point when you get there, you know?
Exactly.
At that point. When you're writing, you talked about kind of it being bare bones. You have this just like incredible voice. When you're writing, are you thinking about the voice as an instrument as well?
Yeah, because when I'm writing, it's just me. It's just my voice and one instrument. So, yeah, because it's like another instrument in the melody sense. Mm-hmm. And then when you add the words and stuff like that, it becomes a little bit more strategic and expanded. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I am thinking about it because I write, like I said, when I write, I like to write cohesively with the music and all that together.
Right.
So yeah, I would say I am thinking about it because that is something that I do have. I was born with a very powerful voice, and it's a natural ability that I honed in on and practice and grew and raised, but it's something that came natural to me. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't have that, so I feel lucky. And I understand that fact that I wouldn't be half of where I am if it wasn't for my voice. You know what I mean? Like,
that's interesting.
I know that. It's a big upper hand that I was given in this world. You know? So, but yeah, I can't not think about it because of the way I write, and because I write so simply, like you said.
Yeah.
That there's very little that I'm thinking of at the core and the foundation of when I'm writing it, besides the music and my voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then later, once those are done, then I start adding in all the other elements.
Right.
Like the drums and another guitar or a violin or a bass or a cello or a flute or another harmony. I don't think about any of that until after the core of the song I'm satisfied with. Does that make sense?
It does. How long does it take you to get satisfied usually?
Depends. Oh, that's a completely situational thing. I've had like that flow song, 15 minutes, and I was happy because it just felt right. Yeah. It was therapeutic. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, that's what I needed. I'm not going to change that because that is exactly what I needed it to be in that moment. And then there's another song, like Love Will Find a Way on this new record. That song took me 10 years to finish.
Yeah.
10 years. Because I had the first half of it, part one. I knew what I was saying. Yeah. That was easy, to be honest. That was just telling a story of what happened. The main thing I had a problem with was why. Why am I telling the story? What is the reason of saying that this thing happened? And it took so long for me to even understand, or not even understand, but be okay with what happened. And by me being okay with it and accepting and forgiving, then I could move on and realize that, oh, I now have this experience that I've learned to be okay with, and I've turned dark into light, or trauma into therapy, or, hate into love. And that's after I understood and forgave and kind of got over the story and what happened. That's what enabled me 10 years later to finish it and write the part two, which was the answer to the part one. Why did all this happen? Yeah, all these things are facts, blah, blah, blah. Why? How did I get over it? Why, what was the reason for it? And so, yeah, the question of What was it again? I lost myself in a train of thought.
Well, we went on a little bit of a tangent. I mean, I
Yeah.
started off asking about the voice as an instrument in the
Yeah.
process, and then we were talking about the idea that like you put all those other things in later.
Yeah.
And my question was about that was like how do you
How
long
do
does it
you
take
know
for
when it's right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You just know. Some like I mean, the other thing is like I've forced songs before. Like I've tried to force that one many times, and it just felt icky and wrong, like something was off, and so I wouldn't touch it. I would just leave it alone, and I kept coming back to it over the years, and I wasn't in the right mental state to comprehend, and I hadn't moved beyond and come to terms with what happened yet in my maturity, so it didn't enable me to finish the song and know why. The why was a big part, and that's where part 2 came in. Once I kind of got over it and understood a little bit more and realized that the reason that I am what I am is because I went through a lot of trauma, and the reason why people get something from the music is because it was my therapy, and why I made a lot of the music that people really connect to is because it gives them a release. And it's like, man, you put in the words something that I only felt, and it made me able to let go of it. Or, you know, getting messages like, I would have killed myself if it wasn't for this song or something like that. Like that changed my perspective over the years, and I started getting more and more of heavy messages like that, and it changed my perspective. And I was like, whoa, why? And I started looking at how, and then I realized, oh, it's because I went through a lot of heavy stuff, but I was lucky enough to find a release, which was music. And I dumped everything into it, and that's why I'm here. And that's, you know what I mean? That's what enabled me to move beyond a lot of the trauma, was the fact that I had translated my trauma and releasing it in my music, but then seeing how other people reacted to it, and it helped other people, made me, oh, whoa, this is something way more than just about me anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all about feel. You know when it's right, and when it's not right, you can try to force it. But for me, it never felt right, and never. I've even released songs that I wasn't completely 100% right with, and I still to this day, you know, felt not weird, but just like it was an incomplete thing that I put out. You know, I didn't give it time enough to simmer or understand. I was rushing it.
Right.
You know?
That's difficult.
It is. And like I said, applying there is no one way to do anything. All that I am saying is the way that I came about to where I am in my growth, development, artistry, whatever you want to call it. That's how I got to where I am right now. And these are the thoughts that helped me get to where I am. Doesn't mean that everyone else will go through the same story or the same struggle, or even that my answers are what your answers are. It's just, this is for me. And maybe by me sharing this, it may help you, or it may make a light bulb click in your head, and then boom, you can get on to finding yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like so many people hit me up and they're like, "Oh, how do I do this? Give me your like 1, 2, 3 ABC." And I'm like, "Oh, whoa, I can't do that." Everyone's different, you know. I can give you my story, and maybe that'll help you, but don't try to like copy it because everyone's different.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's what this show tries to get at, is like nuggets from everybody that we respect, so that you can take and personalize that in whatever way.
Absolutely.
Right? Like there are very few people who can go out there and do what you do in terms of like writing it all at the same time, or it all coming together at the same time. But you're giving me a different way of thinking about the writing process. Right. So
exactly. And that may inspire something that you come up with for yourself.
Yeah.
It's just perspective.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the theme. That's the theme here.
Yeah. It seems like it. It seems like, and the balance of it all.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about releasing a song that maybe wasn't there yet, because I've talked to a couple of people before that like have old songs that they look back on, and it's like they were at a different evolution in their creative life, and they look back at that song and they're not crazy about it, you know. And it's so fascinating because, but
I have another perspective, but go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, but that could be the song that saves somebody's life, you know. And that's
exactly
right.
There are songs that, just to add another little twist, because you just made this come in my head.
Yeah.
I used to have a problem with releasing songs, also because I knew that I would get better, and that I never felt that I was going to be good enough. Right?
Yeah. 100%.
And I was like, well, if I'm gonna be better in 6 months, why don't I just wait and then I'll be better? But that's an unending loop.
Yeah.
The way that I got over it was realizing that, and it's a little bit different than the song being baked and ready. Your ability will hopefully never stop growing, and your capability and talent and everything. But what I've done to get over, like, I'll listen to old records and be like, oh, cringe.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. But the truth is, that's who I was in that moment.
Yeah.
And accepting who you were in that moment and making a song or a recording and releasing it is putting a timestamp. This is who I was in 2012 at this point in my life. And I couldn't have been any better than I was then, because that's just where I was. And if I wouldn't have released anything, then that would have never come out. And you got to let go of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Not in terms of the song being done or baked, but more in the aspect of being okay with letting stuff go and how good it is, like, whatever. Like, you're never gonna be good enough for real. I'm never gonna. Okay, not you. I am never good enough in my own head. I'm never going to be. So you gotta just, if that's the fact, then let go. If you're never gonna be good enough, then just move on. Even now I'm not good enough, there's always room for improvement. So yeah, a record or a song, when it's ready to come out, even whatever, it's a timestamp. That's who I was right then, and it couldn't have been any better or any worse. That's just what it was. And let go, put it out into the world. And sometimes when I put out a record, I don't listen to it for years, and then I'll go back and years later be like, oh, nostalgia. Like, I remember, and I'll look back on it with fondness. Versus if I put it out and then listen to it, and next month listen to it again, I'm like, critique. Sometimes you just gotta let it go and let it be.
I love that. So like I can relate on the podcast front too, because what I'll end up doing, no matter what, like, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I'm gonna walk away from it and be like, "Fuck, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you ask him that?" Right? It doesn't matter. Like, this has been a 10. I'm very pleased with this, and I'm excited to go edit it and get it out in the world. But that doesn't matter. When I get home tonight, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you fucking idiot! You missed this question, or you forgot to ask that thing. You should have pressed him on this."
Totally.
And so I try to be good to myself when I release something out into the world. And just let go at that point. And at first I sucked at it. At first I would like listen to the episode over and over again and kick myself for the editing choices I made and shit like that. And now I've gotten better about like, okay, let somebody else decide whether it's good or not.
But when you look back, can you not see the evolution and the growth and
God.
almost the beauty of maturing and learning? Like, if you never released anything, you would never get to where you are now. And you know what I mean? It's just, it helps you to grow by letting go sometimes.
100%. That's such a great point. And it is messy sometimes.
Oh yeah. It's not going to be in the beginning, especially because you're most nervous about in the beginning. It's first time. It's like, you know what I mean? And no, I get it, man. I did it. I went through all that stuff, and I still do. I still have those moments, and now there's a thing in the back of the head that's like, okay, now let it go. But it never goes away. It's just you learn, those thoughts never go away. You just learn to ignore those thoughts and to let them pass through.
But a little bit of that thought's probably healthy.
A little bit, yeah. Well, yeah. If you don't have, if you think you're God's gift and everything is perfect, then you're probably a doucher. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fine balance though between self-critique and I don't even know if the right word is, the healthy self-critique and self-examination, and the unhealthy. It's a fine line.
It really is.
And being kind to yourself, that's something my wife always says to me. She's like, I love almost everything about you except how mean you are to yourself. But I respond to, well, I wouldn't be as good as I am if I wasn't as mean to myself and held me to a certain standard. But also, they're both true. There's a balance you have to create.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, there's a balance, and it's weird. The older I get, I don't care how cheesy it sounds or whatever, but the older I get, the more and more I find that balance is like the most necessary thing in my life and what makes me the happiest. If I lean too much one way or too much one other way, it may feel good temporarily, but then it always comes crashing back to, I need to balance this out. And as I get older, I try to maintain that more, but that's just takes time.
But that's beautiful, man. Shawn, this has been so much fun.
I've loved it, dude. It's a good conversation, honestly. Like, that's the best. It's the best interviews or podcasts is when it's just a conversation. You can just kind of go off go off the handle a little bit.
Yeah, we did. I think we went where we needed to go, and I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man.
Break a
Thank
leg
you for having me
tonight.
on.
I wish I could stick around. We got a 9-week-old puppy. I gotta get home. And
Oh, what
let her
kind?
out. She's a little miniature pinscher terrier mix.
Nice.
She's the cutest damn thing you've ever seen.
Hell
She
yeah.
looks like a toy Rottweiler.
Okay. That's rad. That's cool. I have a little pug.
Oh, nice.
I always grew up with big dogs, but
Yeah.
eventually, and I never had a small dog, and my wife wanted one. I was like, we tour like 9 months of the year. I'm not getting a big dog and touring with a big dog. It's too much
So
attention,
smart, man.
too much stuff to do, too many messes to mess
Yep.
a puppy. So we got this. It is the easiest creature I have ever had the pleasure of taking care of. It's so simple. And we raised her on the road, so she's used to travel, used
That's
to loud
awesome.
noises. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, that we so far, bless her heart, she is not easy. But she's 9 weeks old.
Yeah, it takes
You
time.
know,
That
so-
beginning little period, you gotta just be understanding.
Yeah. So,
Patient.
all right, dude. Well, I'm not gonna keep you any longer.
Cool.
This is awesome.
Thank you
Thanks so
again,
much,
man.
dude.
Appreciate it.
Follow you down, even through the gates of hell. I will save your soul. I will make you whole. I will not back down. I will shatter death's crown. I will bring you back to life.
Shawn James, y'all, what a conversation. Thank you so much, Shawn. Thank you all for listening. Go to ShawnJamesMusic.com for tour dates, merch, and so much more. Shawn is out touring out in the West right now. Tell him hello for me if you live out that way. Go see his show. What an incredible talent that guy is. Head over to MarinadePodcast.com for all things Marinade. We have some shirts for sale. I got a few Marinade hats left, so if you want one of those, get on it, please, because I'm not sure we'll order that same style again. But it has the logo, the head logo that my partner Chris designed. You can also find tons of bonus content over at marinadepodcast.com. Written pieces, photos, website exclusive episodes. There's just so much on the website, and we really appreciate every little bit. Speaking of content, if you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community. For just a few bucks a month, you can get access to our Patreon exclusive show, Jason's Journey, where I talk about the creative moments that have shaped my life. Every little bit helps. If you can swing a little bit, that would be awesome. But if not, no big deal. Go follow us and give us a rating on your podcast app. It makes a huge difference, y'all. Also follow us on social media, share our posts, like our posts, tell a friend about the show. At the very least, that makes a big difference, and every little bit helps, as I said. All right, y'all, it's time for What I'm Getting Down On, the segment of the show where I talk about the art that is inspiring me at the moment. I have two personal plugs. First, I'm going to be at the Folk Yeah Festival here in Orlando. Mike Dunn does a great job putting that together. Mike, the incredible photographer and songwriter based here in Orlando. That festival is the 29th and 30th of November. I will be there on the 30th specifically. I'll probably be hanging around both days, but I'm actually going to kind of work on one of the stages interviewing artists. So they're going to kind of play in the round, and then I'm going to do some interviews, live interviews, which is pretty exciting, really exciting, amazing, just killer lineup also. Caleb Caudle is going to be there, Matt Woods, Have Gun Will Travel, Zach Williams from the Lone Bellow, our friends Jordan Foley and Kat Ridgway and Kyle Keller and Patrick Hagerman, just so many great artists at the Folk Yeah Festival. So check that out if you're in the Orlando area. Definitely make it out. But it's worth a trip, y'all. If you can get here later this month, I highly recommend it. The second plug I have is for my partner Chris's new Etsy store. I'm so fortunate to live with such an incredible artist. She inspires me every day, and it's fun to see these things come to life. I mean, Chris has like cheese boards and coasters and light switch covers, like really functional art that you could have hanging around your house just as a statement piece, or you could actually use. It's really cool to see how she begins with just a piece of wood, right? It's just like blank canvas, and she cuts the wood and she sands it and she stains it and all the stuff, right? I mean, I'm not equipped to fully explain her process. I will get her on the show here one of these days, soon, actually later in the beginning of next year, where she's going to come on the show. But there's just so much that goes into this work, and it's beautiful. These coaster sets that when put together are one painting, and then they can function separately as coasters. Just gorgeous, y'all. Check it out. Etsy.com/shop/Real Artistic. That's REEL Artistic. Chris, among her many talents, is also a filmmaker, who with a film degree, and just unbelievable person. I'm so fortunate to be around her all the time, and be inspired by the work that she does. Finally, for what I'm getting down on, I'm really enjoying the book I'm reading. It's called Mostly Dead Things. It's by an Orlando-based writer named Kristen Arnett, who I most certainly am going to reach out to and see if I can get on the show. The protagonist in this book is a gay taxidermist living in Florida. And it is so far outside of my reality, except the Florida part, and it's so great. I love those truly great pieces of art that you can connect to, despite the fact that they may really not have a whole lot to do with your life, but the human condition, the way that great artists are able to connect people to the human condition is truly magical. It's magical. And with this book, I love it because the protagonist's life is just so different from my own, except that she is growing up in Central Florida, which is very much something I can relate to. But I feel like I know this person, I don't know that I knew anybody like her in growing up. I'm not sure I know anybody like her now, but I still feel an intense connection, and I just think it's a beautiful piece of work. The reason I got into the book, it was when I was going to Swanee this last time, and we have 3 episodes coming up, y'all, from our Swanee series at Spirit of the Swanee Music Park in Live Oak. We have Melody Walker, amazing conversation. Seth Walker for the second time, always an amazing conversation. And Verlin Thompson for a second time coming up soon. Those will be the next 3 episodes, actually, in some order. But anyway, when I was going to Swanee, I rented a car. And the experience was just a mess. Like, they didn't have enough cars. I had run there. It was about 4 miles away, and I'm training for a marathon. And I that was exactly how long I needed to run that day. So I was like, oh, I'll just run there, and then I'll pick up the car and, come back. So I run there, and it's taken forever. And I'm just like, everybody's pissed. Everybody's like cussing. And, what are you going to do? They overbooked themselves. I was just waiting till the car was available. So I hopped on Twitter, and somebody had retweeted an article that Kristen wrote about a couple of shows that were set in Florida, On Becoming a God in Central Florida. And I can't remember the other show. But anyway, reading her take on Florida and on shows that depict Florida is a beautifully written piece in the New York Times. And then at the bottom, it gives the credit, and says that she wrote this book. So I ordered the book from my local library, best library in the world, Orange County Public Libraries. They deliver to your door. It's magical. It's beautiful. So it's funny how those turn of events happened. Just happened to be, needing to kill some time, found that article, and then ended up with this book in my hands. And I'm so glad I did. So I'll definitely be reaching out to Kristen. I doubt she listens to the show, but if you do, Kristen, please come on the show. I'm right down the street. Y'all, thank you so much. Shawn James, unbelievable. Thank you so much, Shawn. Thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.